Hi, this is the dermis portion of the lecture, so we're just going to jump into it. Characteristics of the dermis. This is when we have the dermal papillae, which these are the fingerprints. So if I look at my fingerprints here, I see that I have ridges, I have ups and downs. So these are going to be moving into the epidermis, which is once again why that basement membrane was so squiggly. We are binding the epidermis to the underlying tissues. So the dermis is going to be all of that connective stuff that holds everything together. We have dense connective tissue here. This is going to include collagen, which is what Kylie Jenner had in her lips, as well as elastic fibers. Collagen and elastin do wear down as you get older, which is why you get wrinkles. We have blood vessels in here. Normally these are like capillary size, so they're not very big. Normally just one red blood cell can get through at a time. But this is what's going to feed the stratum basal layer of the epidermis. And it's also going to help regulate body temperature. I mentioned in the last video about how sometimes people's fingernails get really blue. That's because they are cold. So these capillaries are either going to dilate when they're really warm to get rid of excess heat, which is what makes your face really red, or they are going to constrict so that the blood gets held in the core body so that we're not losing excess body temperature where we don't need to. And then we also have nerve cells scattered throughout. These nerve cells can detect temperature, they can detect pressure, they detect pain, they detect movement of hair follicles, and then of course we do have the hair follicles themselves in the dermis, along with sebaceous glands, which is where you have that watery sweat, and then sweat glands themselves, and these glands become active in puberty, and it's what makes teenagers smell so bad. So then the subcutaneous layer, I mentioned that it's also called the hypodermis, but we will refer to it as the subcutaneous layer in conversation. And this is where we have a lot of that loose connective tissue and adipose tissue. When you did the chicken wing dissection, you were cutting away at this in order to reveal the muscle from the skin. We have collagen and elastic fibers in here in order to hold everything together. And there really is not a sharp, distinctive boundary in between the dermis and the subcutaneous layer, like there is in between the epidermis and the dermis. Just know that eventually it does get down into the subcutaneous layer, and that's when we have a majority of that adipose tissue and then muscle. So adipose tissue, it's fat. This insulates, it regulates body temperature, makes sure that you're not losing heat, and it also contains lots of blood vessels in this area too, that once again helps regulate body temperature. So accessory glands of the skin, this includes nails, protective coverings for fingertips and toenails, the nail plate that is going to cover the surface of the nail bed. That white layer, which I never end up having these anywhere but my thumbnails, that is called the lanula, which, Spanish, luna, is moon. So this means moon, or refers to moon in Latin, and that's where we see the part of the nail that is growing out of the epidermis. So as the cells are dividing here, they are keratinizing just like the stratum corneum does in the epidermis. And some people tend to have harder layers of, harder nails than others. It's just a matter of how much keratinization is there. These keratinized cells, they become scales and then become part of that nail plate. General, how quickly your nails grow, your thumb is going to grow the slowest, and then your middle is going to be growing the fastest. Hair follicles. We have hair follicles everywhere but palms, soles, nipples, as well as lips. I didn't put that on here, but you do not have hair on your lips. The hair is going to develop from those epidermal cells, but the actual follicle is found within the dermis. And so these cells get nourished by the blood vessels in the dermis. As they grow up, they get pushed upwards, and they keratinize and die. So general theme of skin things are alive down in the dermis, but then as they get pushed upward or superficially, they divide and they harden thanks to keratin. So we have the structure of the hair. The shaft is going to be the actual like hair strand that comes out of your hair. Color, this is all determined by your genes. Brown pigment is determined by melanin, just like skin tone is determined by melanin. But red hair is an example of a different type of pigment. I don't believe you need to know that for the test. And then we have the erector pili muscle, which is smooth muscle that is attached to each hair follicle. So when you get cold, when you're listening to really good music, you might get goosebumps. And that is not the, that's not individual chunks of your skin that are sticking up. That is the muscle pulling on the hair follicle in order to get it to stick straight up. Animals do this in order to appear bigger to competitors or to predators. Humans do that in order to keep warm. And the erector pili muscle also goes off when there's lots of dopamine in a response to listening to really, really good music. So these muscles are stimulated to contract. We talked a lot last week or earlier in this week about how muscles only ever pull. So these muscles, they pull on the hair strand in order to get it to stick straight up. So you can hear, or you can see that like the hair strands, they kind of like stick over to the side, but the erector pili muscle helps it stick straight up. So sebaceous glands, otherwise known as oil glands, these are closely associated with your hair. We have these, I think I have a picture. Yes, they are right next to the hair follicle. So here we have the hair follicle, and then the sebaceous gland is going to excrete right next to the hair shaft. So these are produced by holocrine glands, which is where they are secreting an oily mixture as well as a little bit of fat and sebum, which is that watery fluid. So we are excreting it through those little small ducts into the hair follicle near the shaft, and this is what makes your hair greasy, which is why you need to use soap and not just water to wash it out. So the sebum helps keep hair soft, it helps keep it pliable so that it's not constantly breaking, and having a little bit of that is really good for you, but excessive amounts, that's when it looks greasy. So then sweat glands. We have these all over our body. They are a type of exocrine gland. So the word for these, sudoriferous glands, and they are going to be the ones that are going to excrete that watery fluid so that we can stay cold. So the eccrine gland, it's going to respond to body temperature changes. You actually secrete a lot of this every day, so you could be sitting on your couch doing nothing all day, but you are still going to be secreting this fluid. So when you're colder, you do secrete less of it than when you are warmer, and that's once again to help regulate the temperature with homeostasis. Your forehead, your neck, your back, these are going to be secreting a whole lot more than other places like your forearm, and it's once again to help regulate the temperature. So then sweat is carried away. We have the pore. It's carried away to the top of the epidermis, and then it secretes that fluid, which is at that pore. Sweat is mostly water, so it doesn't really smell that bad. What does smell bad is when the bacteria start feeding off of it, and the bacteria start secreting their own wastes. So then we have apocrine glands. These glands do smell bad, and you don't need bacteria to stink. They become active at puberty, and they secrete more of a milky fluid as opposed to a watery fluid. These are present in the groin, in the armpits, and they are also going to secrete that apocrine fluid when you're upset, when you're scared. But they become active at puberty, which is why the teenagers tend to get the bad rep for smelling bad. By the time people grow up into an adulthood, they know a little bit more about deodorant and have their own hygiene under control a little bit more than those middle schoolers do. And then we have mammillary glands, or mammary glands. These are modified sweat glands that then are able to secrete milk. And there's actually a hormone regulation that causes this to be produced in women while they are pregnant and then into the postpartum. And that's how we're going to end it. I will actually lecture to the class about functions of skin next week. But if you have any questions, just like the last video, don't be afraid to ask me. Hope you have a good day.